everyone. So I realized that I haven't done a vlog in a while for this channel. And so I wanted to do another vlog because I ended up finding a few books on Scribed, one of my audiobook subscriptions that I pay for. And so I ended up finding this one here on Scribed. So I've been listening to this. I've been trying to do more historical romances this month in August because of there's like some historical readathons that are going on. And even though I don't really join in on readathons, I figured I would try to read like some more historical romances this month and try to do that. So I've been listening to this one, and as I've been listening, I've been like putting little marks, and I like to put in my little marks, especially if I'm enjoying the book, which I am. So also the name in here of the heroine, I would have totally misspelled this name, you know, mispronounced this name like in my head, because her name is Carys, and I'm thinking it's Carries, but it's Karis. So I definitely would have been wrong with that one. So this one here, like I said, I'm like on chapter 12, not even like halfway through. But if I start listening now, I'll definitely get through this book, like a lot of this book today, if I go and I start listening to it. So this one here, where pretty much I left off is Karis Davies is a part of this Davies family. Now they have these families which are the Davies and the Montgomerys. Now the first book kind of started with, because this is the second book, the first book started with like these characters where every year, I think it's like the eldest or something like that in the family group has to meet up with the eldest of the other family, and they kind of have to shake hands, like, you know, we're gonna get along this year, we're not gonna, like, you know, fight with each other. And they have no idea why this rivalry started. There's been just rumors, you know, no one's really kind of kept up with the whole why these people hate each other. So Karis has always had a crush on Tristan, who's a Montgomery. She always had a crush on him. And he kind of always like looked at her and thought of her like, you know, with fondness, even though he thought she was a hellion, you know, and would get into all kinds of stuff, which she does. So she's funny because she was, I guess you could say, verbally engaged to this man. It wasn't something that was like in the papers, but it was something that like she thought she was in love with this man, whatever, you know, a year or two, whenever it was, she thought she was in love with this man. He popped her cherry and then decided to marry some other woman. So of course, Carys is a fallen woman, and she doesn't want her brothers to know because she's embarrassed. She's ashamed that, you know, she would potentially harm her family's name. And so this fucker that went and popped her cherry is also blackmailing her. So I think it's like every month or something. I think it's every month, once a month. She has to give him money. This motherfucker is going and gambling his fucking shit away. You know, he owes money to debtors and all that stuff. His marriage is basically kind of like a name only. He's obviously cheating on his wife, and his wife is pretty much like, get away from me kind of thing, you know. So that dirtbag is doing that to her. So she goes and she goes to, I can't remember his name. She goes to the guy's carriage to go inside because he was pretty much telling her like, hey, you know, let's meet here so you can give me money kind of thing. So she goes to his carriage, and who pops into the carriage but Tristan? Now Tristan thinks that Karis and the douchebag are having an affair. And so Karis pretty much doesn't like, she does not like basically correct Tristan. So this is Tristan basically like you know he's jealous. You know deep down he's jealous of it. And he wants her kind of like married off, you know, to somebody. He's like, somebody will take you in, you know. Guys don't always know a woman is a virgin, you know. So you could see the attraction between them two. So far I'm enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this. And I like Tristan. I say I do like him. I do like the narrator too, because, like I said, I would have not known how to pronounce Karis's name because of the Y. It's very much that English spelling. Like, you know, there's the name Reese, and the English spelling for it is Rhys, and I always thought Rise, but it's Reese. So it's the same thing with this. But this is pretty good so far. I am enjoying it. I did like the last book that was in this series. I did like that. I think I gave that like 5 stars. I don't know what I'd give this like right now, but so far I am really enjoying it. I would say like right now, if I had to guess, I'd probably give this a 4, maybe a 5. It all depends on like how the middle and end happen, you know, but I am enjoying listening to this. So I figure after I'm done with this one here, then I'm going to go into this one, which is I believe the 3rd book. Yeah, I think it's the 3rd book of the series. And this one here has Morgan Davies. Yeah, he was a captain. Okay, so this is one of the brothers. And I want to get into this one. And this one here is on audio. So I figured I would go, and after I'm done with that one, I'll get into this one. And then this one here is on audio, so I figured I would listen to this one. This is part of the different series. This is the Bowstream Bachelors. Now this is the series she's done before that one, so I figured I would try to get into this one. I do have a couple of other books that are part of this series, and I'll see how that goes. But I figured, you know, I'm trying to get through some more of my physical copies I have. If I do end up finding them on audio, then, you know, I can kind of get through them quicker. I've been having trouble like reading lately, mainly because it's like I just feel so tired. And then it's like I start to read and I'm like, you know, and then I'm out, you know, and I'm not reading. So I've been really trying to, if I'm doing something around the house, like I'm washing dishes, I'm you know, vacuuming the, you know, the carpet, which is frequent because my kids are freaking pigs, because my kids are just constantly making a mess, especially my eldest one, who constantly wants to do her art projects but then doesn't want to clean up her art projects. And I'm like, girl, clean up your mess. So yeah, constantly having to clean up after my children. So that is like an everyday thing. And so whenever I'm like, I have the time and I can listen to the audio, that's pretty much what I've been doing, is that. So I've been enjoying the book that I'm currently reading. I am enjoying it. But I did like the first book, so I'm hoping that I will really like the rest of this series, you know, since this is the 3rd book. But I also hate that they've changed it back to like these covers again, so it's like, it doesn't match up. That's my aesthetic. It doesn't match up. They're different sizes. I hate that. I hate when they do that to a series, and I'm like, couldn't you just like finish up the series first before you decide to change it to the smaller one? It just so infuriates me. And I just realized I like this author a lot. This is an author that's more new to me, that I think I've only read like 1 or 2 books of hers. I do have, that's what I'll try to do. I do have a novella on my Kindle. I'll try to get that one this month too, and hope that I can kind of get to it in August. That's what I'll try to do. I'll try to get to the novella I have, and maybe do it into this one here if I can. But that's it for now that I've been doing. So hopefully I can kind of stick to these, get through them, get to that novella that I have on my Kindle and kind of finish that one off. And then maybe I can do that for this one here. This vlog hopefully won't be that long. So yeah, that's it that I have so far. So I would say like, maybe if I can get through the rest of this book, I'll come back and I'll, you know, say how I liked it, and then I'll delve into the next one. So I will update you all later. Okay, update. So I did finish the book. I put this at a 4. So basically, the rest of the story is Tristan kind of like discovers her secret, or I would say like her secret shame, where he finds out that she's not lovers with Christopher Howe, because that's his name. She's not lovers with Christopher Howe, that he's blackmailing her. And so, he basically gets it out of her that, she thought she was in love with him, and he went and he popped her cherry, he took her virginity, and then decided to marry some other woman. So Tristan's like, that scumbag, he's like, that scumbag. And he's like, and he didn't like, did you have any pleasure from it? And she was basically like, no. And he's like, well, I'm going to give you pleasure, kind of thing. So it's basically them practicing, sexual skills. I will say the reason why I probably didn't give this 5 stars is because there was a couple times in the book where it's like, dude, do you not care about like her reputation? There was a couple of times like they had sex, or like did sexual things, and it was to an area where it's like they could have gotten discovered. They could have got caught. Like one was like in this area where they were doing some investigating, and he was doing like some things to her sexually, and I was like, dude, anybody could like discover you guys, and then she would be the one that's compromised because she's the woman. And then there was another scene that happened where they finally, go to full, go to, have a home run, basically, go all the way, and they could have gotten discovered, So I'd say those were 2 things I kind of was like not really happy with, because I was like, Tristan, come on, better. Even though she is not chaste anymore, still, it's like, respect her, that she would get compromised, like, at least go to your home for these like assassinations and all that stuff, these sexual, things. Like, you have a home, you're building a home, do it there. So that, I would say that would be the only downside to this, but otherwise I really enjoy this series so far. This is a fun series. I don't, like, obviously this is not like, it's not super dramatic and all that stuff. It's fun. It's a fun series. With the first one, it was all about treasure hunting. Now that they found like treasure within their families, they found money within their families, that, there was like still some like gold and stuff like that going on in the story over here. And also I thought it was kind of interesting. She has different animals that are basically like animals that there's no way you could put them back out into nature, because they wouldn't handle, they got domesticated. So she essentially rescued some animals. Like there's this bear she takes care of that was obviously a part of like a circus, and it wasn't treated very well, so she ended up rescuing it. She takes care of it. And same thing with like, there's like other things, like there's a raven and different things like that. So she has like this menagerie of animals, like rescued animals, like you'll see like some of those rich people back in the day, like the wealthy ones, and they had fucking like lions and tigers and shit, and like, and leopards and all kinds of stuff. They had all these exotic animals. Like you'd see like these old photos of like these people who were like wealthy, and they had all of these exotic animals, and I'm like, don't do that. I could see like if you are rescuing these animals are injured, there's no way they could go back out into like, the wild and all that stuff, and you have to take care of them. I could see that. I could see taking care of these animals that had to get rescued, and then you can't like put them back out again. But the ones that go and they catch these animals, or get them when they're cubs, get them when they're little babies, and then essentially raise them to be like these domesticated animals. And it's like, I hate when people do that. I don't like when people do that. I could see, like, if it's something to where you rescue these animals because they're about to be extinct and you want to stop them from being extinct. So you would put them in an area where it helps keep them protected, you know, from fucking poachers. So I could see that. So with her, it's like, she even said in here, like, she would love to, like, let them go, you know, but there's no way that they could, you know, survive on their own, with them being basically domesticated. And so she had went over to this person who was selling these birds. And so once she bought the birds, she let them go free because she didn't want them to be, you know, stuck in cages. So I thought that was really sweet. You know, she had a really caring heart. So I really like this because it's like quickly you could tell like they're attracted to each other, but they're kind of like fighting it. They're fighting like their attraction to each other. They don't want to admit that they, you know, are sexually attracted to each other. And he falls like super quick. You know, I mean, within a week, they're like already like, you know, a couple and everything. So it doesn't take that long. It was the same thing with the other story. The last story, it for that couple, they really kind of like got over their differences like super quick. So I would say like with this family, they don't really have like this hatred toward each other. They don't really understand the full concept of like what happened back in the day. They just knew like something separated these families and had these families become rivals, you know. So it's always been like the Careys, you know, or the not Careys, the Davies versus the Montgomerys. So they don't even know what the full story of it was. So I really liked this one. I thought that was pretty good. So that's why I ended up giving that one a 4. So now I'm going to go on to listen to this one. Now this one here has Morgan. Now it says he was shipwrecked and imprisoned thanks to an incorrect map. So Captain Morgan Davies, he returns to London and he's trying to find the person who gave him this map, you know, this fake map basically. And so he's trying to talk with Harriet. Now it's Harriet Montgomery. So here's another one where it's the Davies versus the Montgomerys. So I'm going to see how I like this one here. And when I get about halfway through, I will update you all and see how I'm liking this so far and go from there. And yeah, do that. So I will update you all later. Alrighty, update. So I am almost done with this book. I'm almost done with this book. Now we have Captain Morgan. I just find that funny. Captain Morgan. There's an alcohol called Captain Morgan. So Captain Morgan Davies and Harriet Montgomery, of course, you know, they've been kind of like rivals for years because of the family names, but they have kind of both been pining for each other for a lot of years. And the thing I would say, I like this book so far, but the thing that kind of frustrates me is Morgan keeps telling her that, you know, he wants to be with her. And she doesn't believe him. She still thinks that he, after majority of the book, still believes that he doesn't want her. He's just teasing with her. Or he'll dally with her, but he doesn't want to marry her, type of thing. So it kind of frustrates me a little bit. So we have the mutual pining. You know, their banter is really good. That's the one thing I can say about this series so far is the banter between all of the characters is pretty good. So he comes home after being months away. He was imprisoned on the island of Martinique for like about 6 weeks or so. And so him and his crew were able to come back. And so he goes and he sees Harriet after, being like 6 months away at sea. And Harriet had essentially made a bet with Morgan that, if he comes back, that she will go and, if he comes back, alive, that she will give him 3 kisses. And so he basically stipulates to her that they're not all going to be like on the lips. So the first kiss, of course, was on the lips. The second lips was somewhere else. And so I don't think we've hit 3 kisses yet. Not yet. But they're getting there. So he comes back, and first thing he's looking for is he's looking for the person that's called R. Crusoe, that was the map maker for his ship, because it went, I think it ran aground or sank or something like that, and so they got caught, and so that's why they ended up getting imprisoned at Martinique. So he kind of like essentially wants revenge. And then he meets up with a guy that obviously works for the military, and he basically says like, well, the person you're looking for, but you got to promise you're not going to do any retribution. But he's like, the person you're looking for is Harriet. So Harriet is a map maker where she's helping her dad because her dad can't see. Dad essentially has cataracts, but it's not like told in here. They said it's like a white film over the eyes, and you're like, that's cataracts. So the father doesn't want to get a surgery because he's kind of stubborn. You can kind of get this procedure done during that time. And so he doesn't want to kind of get it done. And so he goes, morning. And so he goes and he can't really see much. So his daughter has been kind of like doing these maps. And so I guess during wartime, they would create these false maps where it was like, it had like a little bit of a slight thing to it to kind of essentially like mess up your enemies, run them to ground, things like that, kind of like, as a way of like winning the war. So Captain Morgan and his crew ended up getting this map from like somewhere else. So it was a map that was supposed to go to the enemy. So he can't blame her there because it was essentially their fault for grabbing this map on another ship. So he's like, okay. He's like, well, since I can't get like revenge or retribution because, Harriet's essentially a childhood friend. So he's like, okay, well, I want something else from you. So essentially, like, he's slowly seducing her. And, I like it so far. I probably, with the way it is, I'll probably give it a 4. But I will say, I liked the other book a little bit better. Because, this one here, I'd say Harriet is very frustrating. Because she, I don't know, like maybe has like so low self-esteem or something. And so she doesn't want to believe that he, that he actually cares for her. Because for years he like teased her and, he even said like when he was about 16, he wanted to, bed her, but he wasn't thinking of like marrying her. And basically his little stint in Martinique kind of like got his head on straight, where he was like, I want to marry Harriet, you know. He's like, I want to be with her forever. And so it's essentially like him throughout most of this book here, where he's trying to convince her to be with him. So I said, that's a little frustrating. But still, I'm still enjoying the book. So that's about what I have so far. I probably have about an hour to go left on this audiobook. So once I'm done with the audiobook, I will update. I think the next book I'm going to go with is my Kindle, because the Kindle is a part of the same story. It's part of the same series. And also it's like, you know, a novella. So I figured I probably could get through that one quickly. And then once I'm done with that, I think the last book I will listen to will be the that Bow Street Runner one. So I think I'll do that. The Bow Street Bachelors or something like that. I'll probably do that. And then I will close out this vlog when I get done with the last book. So I'd say, you know, 2 more books to go, and then I'll be done with this vlog. So I will update you all later. All right, so update. I finished this book, and I liked it. I gave it 4. Like I said, I think the issues I had with this one here and why I enjoyed this one a little less than the other one is because Harriet definitely had like a little bit of like what I would say low self-esteem, or just didn't want to believe that Morgan truly like loved her. So after they go all the way, she's pretty much like, I don't think we should do this again, because, you know, she's thinking in her head, because I love you and I don't want you to be, you know, go off on someone else and, you know, have him break her heart. And so he's like, what, why? And so they have this little, like, you know, disagreement back and forth, not really a fight, but more of a disagreement. And he's kind of like, I'll prove it to you. You know, it's like, I'll give you a week to prove it to you how much I love you. And so the ending was really sweet. I liked what he had did for her. And I was like, I thought that was like the perfect thing for her to kind of like show how much he cared. And then also I liked the ending too, where her dad had cataracts, and throughout the book Morgan had met with him and basically told him like, hey, I know somebody who could help, you know, and so convinced her father to get this, you know, surgery, which is pretty common nowadays. Like my mom has like the starting of like cataracts, and I guess like when it gets to a certain point where once that milky film like over it becomes the point of like where they can kind of remove it. So that's pretty much what they do, is they go and they take it and they surgically remove it, so that way you could see properly again. So that's essentially what happened with her dad. Was he went and he got this surgery done, and he's like, I can see again, you know. And it just was like, he just was so happy that he was able to see. I thought that was sweet too. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. I thought this was pretty good. And I will say, like, all of these books, they're very, I wouldn't say simple, but they're very easy to get through. They're definitely very easy to get through. I like the whole, like, the first one I really liked because it had that whole, like, mystery behind it, where they were looking to see what was going on. And now that, like, their families have a little bit of money, because she's not a sister. Like the Montgomerys, it was just, I think it was just one daughter to one of the rivals, and I think the other ones are like cousins or something, but they're still like cousins through like that side of the family. And there's other like Montgomerys that they don't like talk about much. And I found it funny throughout the book too, where it had like these meddling aunts, and I thought they were funny. I think one was like Constance and the other one was like a Prudence or something like that. I can't remember their names. I think one was Constance though. And they pretty much were like, you know, oh, you know, you don't know, you know, the last one that was that people were talking with was Reese. And so Reese was talking with a Prudence, Prudence, and I think it's Prudence and Constance, And so they're like, oh, we don't speak about our other cousins in polite society. She goes, not in polite society at any rate. And so Reese's heart began to pound. He absolutely did not believe in fate or destiny or any of that rot, but there was something about this conversation that was making him decidedly uneasy. Why don't you speak about them? He was intrigued despite himself. Because they're the wild branch of the family, Prue chuckled. I swear, our Carolyn could give your Karis a run for her money. And I just thought it was funny that I'm like, I would like to see Reese's story. I'm curious if the next series that she does, because this was only a 3-book series, and then the other book that I have to read is just the novella of like basically the last part of it, but it doesn't have anything to do with Reese as far as I know. The one here for Desert Island, what's this one? Desert Island Duke, a Ruthless Rivals novella. This has to do with Lady Carolyn Montgomery and Maximilian Cavendish, I believe. They're stuck on an island, and so that's a novella, so I definitely want to get into that one to finish that one up, and I can talk about that. But yeah, I did enjoy this one. But yeah, I'd say that was the only thing I didn't like about it, was that Harriet was pretty much like, oh, he doesn't truly love me. And I'm like, girl, he does. He loves you. He's been loving you for years. Especially because it's like when they were like, he was like 16. I think she was like 15, around there. They almost kissed. They were playing kind of like a hide and go seek kind of thing with all of them, with the rival families. And so they got into this area where he was like hiding with her, and he almost kissed her. And so he's had feelings for her, and has kind of lusted after her for like years. And it's not until he was imprisoned in Martinique where he was like, I love that girl, and if I can get out of this, I'm going to marry that girl. And so for me, I was kind of like, girl, you don't see what I see. This guy's in love with you. This guy's totally in love with you. And the pining in this, there was a lot of pining between both of the characters, where she wanted him, he wanted her. But I was kind of like, communicate a little better, because then you realize how much you love each other. So, yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And then, like I said, this one here I want to read next is Desert Island Duke. Hopefully I can kind of get through this one. Here quickly, it only... it looks like, it looks like it's 133 pages, I think. I'm already on page 4, and it hasn't even started. Seeing like it'll show like chapter 1. So yeah, I'll read that, and the next update I'll do is me finishing that book. And then the last book I'll be doing for this one will be I think it's This Earl of Mine, I believe, and I'll read that one and finish that one up, and so that way I can kind of wrap up this vlog. But I did really enjoy that series, for all 3 of the books. I really enjoyed those books. And yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying these books. I definitely need to look up more, because I find like I can get through a book lately on audio quicker. Like if it's a long book, it sometimes takes me like forever to get through it. Like I've been like reading some really long books lately where I end up DNFing them because I'm like, this fucking book is so goddamn long, and it just ends up irritating me. So yeah, I prefer shorter books. I don't know why I do, but I just do. I prefer shorter books. I don't like the ones that are like super, super long. So yeah, I will update you all later to talk about the novella and see if I liked it or not. Okay, update. So I finished Desert Island Duke. I finished that one, and whoo, this was like, I don't know, steamier than I anticipated. So we've got like, I think I might have said it before, the characters. We've got Carolyn Montgomery. She's a part of the Montgomery family, like she's a cousin. And then we've got Maximilian Cavendish. He's a duke. And Max has always been friends with her brother, ever since they were like, I think in college. And then also, they went to war together. So they battled in like the Battle of Waterloo and some other stuff. And so he has kind of like teased her over the years. They've known each other since they were, young. And he's always had a thing for her. He's always like been in love with her. But he didn't know, like, like you get like, obviously guys are younger. It's like they kind of like think of the woman as like they want to, sleep with her. But then they get to the point of like, I love this person, I want to marry this person. So that's pretty much what it was with him. It's like after the war, he kind of realized that, he wants to be with this woman, and wants to marry her, but he didn't know how to like get her to like fall for him, So what happens is, perfect setting, they get stranded on this island. Now it was one of those islands where obviously there was another island that was close by to it, where you could see, people on the island and you can kind of like wave to them, but obviously they're far enough away to where they can't really, see. So luck would have it for them, I would say. They were able to fish. They found mango and bananas. I'd be all over that shit right there, because I'm like, I love bananas and mangoes. I love mangoes. Love them. They're like my favorite fruit. And so he's like, they're kind of like, he's slowly trying to seduce her, and then she ends up like seducing him. It was really sweet. I really enjoyed it. But it was funny because at the beginning, she wakes up, she notices that he's there, and she's first like, ugh, why does it have to be him? Because he's always kind of teased her, and so she was like, ugh, now I have to deal with, Max. It was so funny. Like, there was a part in the book that I thought it was funny. Where was it? Let me see. Can it show me like my highlights? Because I don't have my whatchamacallit? I'd have to get my tablet. But she basically was saying like to be stuck on an island with him. It just was like funny to me, and I started laughing. And so he ends up waking up, and I think she assumes like, oh, do you not know who you are? And so like throughout the whole story, he's pretending that he doesn't know who he is, And so it's like after they have their little hanky panky that he, she was like, you're a duke. And he's like, I know. And so she's like, you're lying to me. But she doesn't get like super mad, and it's like, well, you kind of lying to him too, so you can't really get like too upset over it. But I thought it was really sweet. He basically was like telling her like, I loved you for years. I've always loved you. I thought that was super sweet. So I really enjoyed that one. Like the first few pages, I was like, this guy's a douche. But like the more he like, the more into the chapter. And then once, I found out like, okay, he knows who he is. He's just playing with her. I was like, okay, he's not so much a douche. So I thought it was really sweet. I really enjoyed that one. I gave that one 5 stars, and it depends on the novella, because sometimes novellas don't really do it for me. But this one I liked because they already knew each other. It was already established, like they already knew each other. They kind of grew up around each other for years. So it's, those feelings were kind of like always there at the surface. but they just needed a little bit of push, you know? So when it's anything like that, I'm okay with it. When it's something to where it's like, these characters don't know each other and all of a sudden they're just, you know, getting it on, then it's a little bit like, come on, you know? But this one here, it was like already established. They already knew each other. So I'm like, it just makes it better. It just honestly does. So I'm going to move on to listening to the audiobook for this one here. So this is This Earl of Mine. This one here is a part of the Bow Street Bachelors. So we've got like, she's a shipping heiress. Yeah, Georgiana Caversteed. And then this other guy, his name is Benedict William Henry Wilde. He's the second son of the late Earl of Morcott, and he's a well-known rake. Okay, so he's in Newgate Prison undercover. Okay, and she doesn't realize who he is, and she ends up marrying him. So I think this is like, I think this story is like, she thought he was going to die, and so she decided to marry him, and then he ends up like not being, you know, not dying, and so it's like, oh, we're married. So this one here, I definitely want to check out. And it is on, what is it on again? Scribed, I think? It might be on Scribed. It's either Scribed or Anyplay. It's one of them. I have both of them that I subscribe to. So I'll read that one. They don't have the other one, so I'll have to go and like physically read them. And it might take me a while to get through those other ones. So this one here, I figured I can get through it quicker because it is an audiobook. And then I'll be finished with this vlog. Because I figured, you know, I don't want to read like the rest of them because the vlog will probably be like way too long. So I figured I'll probably get around to those other books, maybe possibly in September. I'll see if I can try to get around to them in September and read those. So that way I could finish off all of my Kate Bateman ones I have. And then try to move on to, there's 2 other books by Stacy Reid I need to read that I have physically. I need to read those because there's another book of Stacy Reid that I need to get to, and then she's got her new one coming out, so I really need to get to all the rest of my Stacy Reid I have too. So yeah, so I'm gonna go and read this. When I get to about halfway through the book, then I'll go and update, and then I'll finish it off, and then we'll finish off this vlog. So yeah, I will update you all later on if I like this book. Hi everyone. So I want to say that I like this book, but excuse me, but I don't. I am not a fan of this one, for the fact that some things just don't make sense in this story. Now, there's somebody I follow on Goodreads that when I was going through and I'm like, okay, did anybody else have issues with this book? Because when I start having issues with a book, I look on Goodreads and see what the salty reviews are. And there are how many people who gave this a good review. But there's somebody I follow who gave this 1 star. And I'm like, okay, why did I give it 1 star? And so when I read the review, I was like, I can understand why they gave it 1 star. Okay. So we've got the character of Georgiana. Now, Georgiana has been left an inheritance that she won't get till she's 25. She's 24. And her father had passed away at sea. Excuse me. I just recently woke up. And so Georgiana is the eldest. And so she's trying to make things better for like her mother and her sister, you know, her younger sister, so that way her sister can get married, which kind of seems weird for the fact that it's like, if you're independently wealthy now, like you have money and you're taking care of your mother and your sister, why does it matter if you know, you have a good reputation. I don't know. It just seems weird to me. Why would it matter at that point? Who cares what the ton thinks, you know, kind of thing. So she's got a cousin, Josiah, who keeps like kind of putting her in situations to where she could be compromised with him. And the guy's a creeper. So he put her in this position where she almost could have got caught. And it's like her man, who's like almost kind of like her bodyguard, essentially. He managed to get into the situation where he kind of like got the cousin away. And so she managed to get away from the cousin. And so she's trying to get married to somebody so that way her cousin, which doesn't work, her cousin will leave her alone. But like I said, it doesn't work. You know, I'm like, okay, why'd you get married then if this guy's gonna keep, you know, harassing you? So she goes to Newgate prison and marries this prisoner, and then she ends up finding out a few weeks later he wasn't a prisoner, he was an undercover Bow Street runner. So he marries her, and he's like, oh, I didn't really have a choice. And I'm like, you could have like whispered to her that you were an undercover agent and you shouldn't marry her, you know. Or if you do marry her, you're, you know, basically doing her a favor and helping her out. So that didn't kind of make any sense, because like, well, I'm an undercover, I can't go, and I was forced to. And it's like, well, you weren't. You could have like, you know, said, hey, can I talk to her over here on the side, kind of thing. And he could have whispered to her like, hey, I'm an undercover agent, keep it quiet, you know, kind of thing, you know, and kind of do that. So it didn't make any sense of like, oh, you were like forced to marry her. And I'm like, no, you know, you really weren't, come on. And so they get married. A few weeks later, he shows up as, you know, himself, as Benedict Wilde. He's basically a second son of an earl. His brother got the earldom, so his brother's the earl, but you know, he's essentially the second. So he has essentially some, you know, position, you know, because he comes from a family with a title. And so he's essentially saying to her, like, you know, well, come to this address and we'll discuss it further and all that stuff. And she ends up like basically helping him out with his like investigation. And the things that I'm not liking so far is that the author has essentially turned her into like a girl boss, you know, where she's like, she knows all these things. And I'm like, bullshit. This is a woman who was not educated at Oxford or wherever, like Cambridge or whatever the other, you know, English colleges, you know, and all that stuff are. She never went to school. Her schooling was obviously through like a governess. And so governesses, you know, essentially were teaching women back in the day, like how to paint, how to play the piano, how to, you know, the harp or whatever it is, how to sew, you know, different things like that. That type of education. So I'm like, this woman automatically knows like all these different parts and different things like that because her father taught her. I'm just like, she's essentially, you know, one of those girl bosses that didn't need to work hard in order to achieve, you know, her goals. I don't know. Just to me, I'm like, this just seems not as good as like her other series. This is definitely like, I think this was her first series. So it seems like she's kind of gotten better with her writing. That's the one thing I can say, is that she obviously got better with her writing, because this one here, I'm not a fan of. It just, things don't make sense in the story. You know, he owns like this gambling gentleman's club, but he's also a Bow Street runner, which don't make any sense. And, you know, just different things. And I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. And then there's parts of this story that are just fucking boring to me. I'm so bored with it because, and this is why I ended up putting it on like 1.5 speed, because I'm just trying to get through it without, without the characters sounding like chickmunks, So this one here, I'm just like, I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm not sure what I would put it as. Like I almost would say I put this as a 2 because it's not that good. It's boring. And then the parts that, when they are interesting, it's like she's too smart for her own good. And I'm just like, and then I don't really feel the chemistry with them. Obviously, they're sexually attracted to each other, but that's pretty much it. Like, I'm not feeling like passion or love with the characters. And we're talking like I'm on chapter 24. And I just don't feel the chemistry with them. It's definitely more sexual in nature, and that's it. And just like, yeah, I'm very disappointed in this one here, and this is why I just want to kind of like get through it and finish it up. And the thing was funny because it's like she got married to get away from her cousin, while her cousin ends up like 2 other situations in the story. Like, he sees her on the street, so he tries to accost her, like sexually assault her, and Ben stops him. Like, he comes up on her and she's trying to fight him, and she got him right in the howdy-a-doos, and he came up and almost was gonna probably be violent with her. And it's like, look, one thing I could tell you in self-defense, when you get somebody down on the ground, you don't stick around, okay? You do not stick around to see if he's okay. You get the fuck out of there. If you are in a situation where you get the guy in the howdy-a-doos, you run. You run away, because then you have a quicker chance of getting away from this person. Because if you're like, are you okay? Motherfucker's gonna get back up and he's gonna hurt you even worse, okay? That's self-defense 101. You get the person down and you run like zombies are chasing you, okay? That's what you do, all right? You don't stick around. You get the person down on the ground and you run and scream, because that's how you can get like noticed. Because other people can come in and be like, what's going on over here, And then now they see this guy clutching his howdy-a-doos down on the ground. Believe me, other men are going to come in and say, what were you doing now? So yeah, that's what you want to do, as a female. Run. So she got him down on the ground and then didn't leave. And I'm like, girl, do you have a death wish? And Ben was pretty much like, why is she here? Guys could have did horrible things to her and wouldn't have batted an eye, And it's like, yeah, lady, you have a death wish. You're the person who is now the heir of the shipping company, and you have all this money. Wouldn't it make sense for you not to be in danger? Because, you're trying to protect your sister and your mom. So why would you go out in the middle of the fucking night by yourself without your man, your guy that's the bodyguard? Why would you go out by yourself and endanger yourself as a female? You're stupid. So yeah, no. So she's annoying me. For someone who's so smart, she's so stupid, And then the cousin, sees her again at her place and essentially says like, I'm going to tell people that you married a sailor. So I want money. And so she gives him money. And I'm like, bitch, you fucking... You wanted to be away from this guy, and he keeps showing up. I mean, at this point, I would hire a hitman. Or, I don't know, I would go and blackmail, essentially blackmail the cousin. Because you got money, you can, you can go and hire some shysters in the street that are going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to go and, we'll blackmail this guy. So then he goes to jail and then gets shipped off to Australia. And then you don't have to see him again. Work smarter, not harder. I don't understand this woman. And the more the book progresses, the more I'm like, okay, yeah, she's so smart. Yet she keeps, her cousin keeps coming around, even though she wanted to get rid of the motherfucker. And other stuff. And I'm just like, this don't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I'm really trying to get through this book because I'm really like at the point where I'm probably giving it a 2. I really wanted to like this book too, but things just don't make any sense in this. Things just don't make any sense. So yeah, I'll update you all later with the finished thing, and then I'm going to end the, end the vlog. But yeah, I'll update you all later. All right, so let's finish this off. So, Georgie continues to help, Ben, Benedict, continues to help him. And they end up at this warehouse, and they end up going in this warehouse, and then they hear people coming in, so they decide to hide in the submarine, and end up having foreplay. He's like, her. Yeah, did that, and then she goes and meets him at his gambling gentleman's club. They finally have, sex. And then it's basically her helping him, with the submarine that I guess is going to get launched. And so her stupid cousin attacks her, and basically like kidnaps her. Then she gets rescued by Ben. And they go and they ship Josiah, the cousin, off to America. And I'm like, gee, thanks. So, yeah, it was just like a lot of that. And then, pretty much like, oh, I shouldn't marry you. I shouldn't really marry you, even though they're already married. I shouldn't really marry you because you're going to think that I'm, I'm only marrying you for your money. And it's like, but didn't you sign the contract that stipulated that you would not get her fortune? You already did this at the beginning, man. You don't need to explain it. It's like, okay, dude, come on. Yeah, it was a lot of that. I'm gonna probably be nice and just give this book a 3. But yeah, I was not feeling this one at all. I think if I physically read this, I would have DNF'd it. I would have just DNF'd it, and it would have been like, that's it, I'm done. But yeah, it was a lot of like different stuff like at play and a lot of things going on. And then it was just boring. Like as much stuff as, that was actually going on, I was just bored. So yeah. That's why ultimately I'll just give this one a 3. Obviously they got married and everything, they truly got married, and so I was like, yeah, it was okay, but I just was not really impressed with, it. And yeah, her sister was a ding dong. Her sister was a complete ding dong. And like this guy that the sister was in love with was like, just kind of like one of those dudes that's all about poetry, and it's like, oh, let me read you a sonnet, my love. And I'm just like, that's cringe, dude. That's cringe. That is cringe. Oh my God. I would have been like, let me just stop you right there. Oh man. I would not want a dude to like get down on his knees and like say sonnets to me. I would be like, no, I'm gonna go because you are embarrassing me. I am embarrassed. I am embarrassed for you. You know, I'd be like, get off your knees and stop acting this way. Oh, no, not into that. I hate public displays of affection. I hate, where the attention's on me. This is why I'm like, I can go and do this because I don't see people. I don't see people looking at, because if it was the other way around and people were looking at me, I'd be like, kill me now. Let me just go into the ground and bury me. Just bury me, because I do not like people staring at me and the attention's on me. Don't dig that. That's why when my husband and I were like going to get married, I told him, I don't need you to go down on one knee. I don't need you to present me with a ring. I just don't, it just makes me feel really uncomfortable. I just don't feel comfortable with that. I don't like that. So that's why him and I were like, you know, do you want to get married? Yeah, you know, let's get married. Okay, let's go head to Vegas. And then we did that. Even like me, like being up, like with the, you know, the justice of the peace, sitting there holding hands with him, and I'm like, I am so uncomfortable with this situation. Oh, I was so uncomfortable. I was not comfortable at all. And it was hard for me to like just repeat the things that the justice of the peace was telling me to say. Oh, I couldn't wait for that to be over. And as soon as we were done and we like signed our names, and I was like, oh, yeah, just like, I can't, I don't handle that stuff. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I could not ever get a regular wedding. I would not handle that at all. I would be so, I would be a nervous wreck. I would just, oh man, no, I can't handle that. So that guy, the Juliet's like, intended, her brother, her sister's, the guy who she fell in love with, which just so happened to also, which was like, this is very convenient. The mother did not want Juliet to marry this guy. What was his name again? It was something with an S. It was like a weird Silas or something weird. Something weird. I'm trying to think. Simeon. That's what it is. It's like Simon, but it's Simeon. Just so happens that Simeon, his like great aunt or something, left him her castle, and I'm like, well, that was freaking convenient. I'm like the mother didn't want Juliet to marry Simeon because Simeon was all like, poor, but just the great aunt like obviously liked him and left his the fortune, which is like, when you think about it, you're like, it's like 1,000. I think they said it's like 1,000 pounds a year or a month or something like that. And I'm like, not in this time. And this time it's poor. But back in the day, obviously, that was, good amount of money. And a castle, a whole ass fucking castle, which a lot of these people ended up losing their, like properties and stuff, because try heating a castle. It's fucking expensive. So, yeah. So, she ended up with, that Simeon dude in a castle. And then, of course, now Georgie goes and marries, Ben. And, she's wealthy, so she don't have to worry about, it's him that, is pretty much like, gonna have to think, okay, well, my wife's got money, that type of thing. And some guys can't handle that, but for me, I'm like, I don't know, if I was a guy, I'd be like, I don't give a crap, just as long as you don't throw it in my face, I wouldn't care, so to me, it's like, somebody's got money, who cares, so, that was pretty much the end, and I was just like, okay, I wasn't really impressed with this, so yeah, this is not something I would keep. And I'm gonna try, I'll go to the other two books. Like, for some reason, the second book, I think it's the second book, as far as I know, I think it's the second book. The second book in the series doesn't have an audiobook, but the third book does, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. So I'm like, oh, whatever. So I figured, you know, I'll go back to those ones, but right now I'm gonna be, you know, I want to read something else. So I'll go back to them. Hopefully the second and third book are better than that one right there. So I was like, you know, I think she definitely has improved as an author. I think she definitely has improved with her writing, because I really enjoyed the current series that she did. And then she has this other series that's coming out that I definitely want to read. So yeah, I think it was like, you know, obviously her earlier works are not as good. You know, she needed to get better at, like, you know, different things. And one thing I could say about this author, she really likes putting the characters in situations where they end up like fooling around or having sex. Like the other one, it was like the beginning of the other series, the couple end up having sex in the cave, you know, and then you've got like this other couple that got like intimate in like a submarine, and then there was other ones, and it's like she seems to like what's the term, exhibitionism, where you know, they like to fool around in, you know, unusual places and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't think I could, you know, yeah, I'm not into, like, you know, stuff where it's like there's a potential that you could get caught. Yeah, no. So yeah, that's it for this here. Like the other books I liked, you know, I liked the other books. This one here just unfortunately just I wasn't a fan of it. I would say if you wanted to get into Kate Bateman, I would probably go with her latest works, because I enjoyed those ones better. And I would say maybe go back to her series, her older stuff, and kind of go from there. She also goes under like I think it's KC Bateman. Yeah, KC Bateman. And also she does write some other books that are independent, that are more indie. She has some indie books, and then she has some books that were traditionally published. So, yeah, that's it for this one here. I'm going to try to make this kind of like a priority every month or every other month. I think I might do like every other month. Do a vlog where, you know, just reading like how many books. Maybe I'll do it like where I'm reading like how many books from the same author, because I do have like, you know, how many books from this author, how many books from that author. So I think I'll probably do that, where I might read like how many books from one author and kind of go from there, and make it more of like a themed type of vlog and all that stuff. But yeah, that's it for this one here. Let me know, do you like Kate Bateman? What books do you like from her? But yeah, that's it for this video. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. And I will see you all on the next video. All right. Bye.